A good evening, councillors, good evening, members of the public. Welcome to this Town Council full meeting, Oakham Town Council, Wednesday the 30th of February 2019. It is now 6:30 p.m. The council's now in session. So item one is apologies. We've had apologies from councillors Denia and Lucas. So I'll take it on block. So apologies. Proposal to accept. Proposed for both by Councillor Skipworth, seconded by Councillor Bottomley. All those in favour, show of hands, please. So that's going to be 9, isn't it? And then abstention against 1. That's everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah. Members are asked to declare declarations of interest is item 2. Members are asked to declare if required any disclosable pecuniary interests and any other interest they may have in respect to items of the agenda. So we've got some. So who have we got?
Zoe, Joy, and
Daniel.
Non-pecuniary.
And
Item? Item 16.
Right, hang on then. So Daniel is.
He's the rep.
Yeah. So you can take vote in discussion if you so wish and vote. Yep.
Councillor Neil.
Representative of another body of task and finish group had to take part in the discussion but not vote. Which number are you? The same for 16?
Yeah.
16 as well.
Can I just ask? Zoe, are you a resident of the? Sorry, are you on the residents group or the task and finish group?
She's not on either.
You do the
I
Facebook.
volunteered for the Facebook
On which group?
on Task and Finish.
Right. Okay.
So-
Then you'll be the same as Daniel then,
So I declare for that as well.
and you can take part in the vote and discussion.
And Councillor
And I'm
Wadsworth.
also declaring for the exempt item as well.
Which one?
Non-pecuniary, number 19,
The bowls or the
the other one.
Staffing.
staffing?
No, we've got a. Was that just the notes?
Oh, that's just the that's the minutes.
Just minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Martin?
Where is Councillor Wadsworth with first actually? She's,
20. Both.
no vote, no discussion.
Discuss and I can vote.
Yes, you can.
Just checking.
I've checked.
Councillor Brooks.
Just a point of order, I guess what it is, I don't know. On the number 16 task and finish report, the clerk has mentioned voting and discussion, but the agenda just says to receive and note the report. There's nothing on the agenda to say that we're going to discuss it tonight or vote on anything.
Yep. That makes it a lot easier when we get to the report then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we could be all about RCC for 8 o'clock.
I'll read a slide.
What are we doing at present?
Nothing.
I'm not.
Highways are there waiting for you.
Come in. Come on, let's go.
There's no others, is there? So we'll go on to item 3. So that's right, it'll be really quite simple.
Yeah.
Item 16. The minutes which are attached to. Obviously, on good evening. On the minutes, you'll be Councillor Neil. You'll be abstaining because you weren't present for that meeting. Okay. So, anybody got any comments or changes? Otherwise, we're looking for a proposal for the minutes. Councillor Wadsworth, seconded by Councillor Bottomley. All those in favour? So that's going to be 9 and 1 abstention. There's only 10, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have we got any items for is chairman's and members' reports? Receive reports from the chairman rather, and members. I haven't got one, but you've got one, haven't you? Councillor Wadsworth.
I'm number 8.
Oh, right, okay, forget that then. No other reports, is there? No, because yours is covered on your bit when you do your thing. Because he's got his own section tonight. Yep. Be prepared. 5. Any councillors' questions? None?
No.
So item 6 is deputations by the public. Good evening to the public again. So the public are invited to speak, if they so wish, for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item on the agenda. So, sir, you'd like to speak on the bowl slope. If it's more comfortable for you, you can remain seated. If it's easier, yes, remain so.
I'm Gail Robertson and I'm representing the Bowls Club, and I wanted just to put a little bit more flesh on the bones of your agenda item number 20, which relates to our request for a lease extension. The Bowls Club dates from 1910. I believe most of it's done on the same site. And our first formal lease with your council, I believe, was in 2007. This lease runs until March 2027. In 2015, we undertook some major improvements to the Bowls Club. Most of these were safety related, and we had to replace the sides and the pavement all the way around the garden. And we made some changes, particularly in relation to access for disabled bowlers. This cost us around about 20,000 and was funded both by members and a grant from Rutland County Council. And this made us really one of the top clubs in there. We knew at that time we'd need to make improvements to the bowling green itself. We've had drainage problems over the years and these cause undulations in the green. And these problems were brought into sharp focus last year in the dry summer. We had last year been asked to host a county match, but due to complaints by various bowlers who were members of the county committee and who played during the season, the fixture was cancelled by Leicestershire Bowls. So we now need to bring forward and our plans and spend some money on the green. We've not looked at this in detail, but our initial advice is that we'll need to replace the drainage and then undertake laser levelling. Now, I don't know what that's about really, but it won't be cheap, and this could run into several £1,000s. You may wonder why I'm here to talk about lease renewal in 2019 when it runs to 2027. But it's already been quite clear to us when we've been talking to members about funding this and talking about funding sources that it's not going to be possible to get funding as we don't have security of tenure for more than 10 years. It's currently 8, and by the time we get on with these repairs it'll be about 7. So in short, we're requesting a further either a lease extension or another 20-year lease so that we can actually undertake this objective, which is, from our point of view, becoming quite urgent. Thank you very much for your
Okay, no, thank you. Perfect, thank you. Would you like to address the council on any item on the agenda?
I can do.
Well, you don't have to. If you had something you wanted to mention on the agenda, if there was a particular point.
Well, I'm here representing the Red Box project.
Oh right, yes, yeah, that's on here. Yeah, yes. If you've got some additional information, if you're happy to talk about it, feel free.
Yeah,
you have 3 minutes.
All I'm really going to do is just give you a little bit of an update. I know that some information's been given to you already regarding what the project is about. Really, it's just a matter of letting you know that we now have boxes in every primary school in Oakham, and we have boxes in all of the high schools in Rutland. I don't know if everybody knows what the Red Box project is. You do? Oh, fantastic.
We had like a brief on it. So.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
My next goal is to get Red Boxes into all the primary schools, colleges, and any extracurricular activities, educational activities, grounds, guides, that sort of thing within Rutland. Obviously, I am the only person running it. It is a large area when you look at it being one person. So I really just wanted to let you know what my next goals are.
Okay. Brilliant. Yep. No, thank you. Right. Now it's been. Oh no, we've got the clerk's report, which has been distributed. So you've all got it on the table, yeah?
Yeah.
So no issues on that. The important thing in there is about further, I guess. So that's that. Now, what it is, because the gentleman's here specifically about the Bowls Club, and the Bowls Club's quite a far way down the agenda, I was going to suggest or propose from the chair here that we bring item 20 forward and discuss that next. So if that was a proposal, that's seconded by Councillor. Oh yes, and also that we feel that because we won't be discussing the details of the lease, and just to extend it, because that it probably wouldn't need to be exempt as well. All right. So proposed by Councillor Lowe at the moment. It was seconded by. Well, actually, I've got seconded by Councillor Bond, actually put that first. So all those in favour that we bring it forward? That's...
Can we do that?
Yes, we can do it. It's in the standing order. That's unanimous. And so, if everybody's happy that it's not exempt, the paper's in front of us. Yeah? Mr. Robinson, wasn't it? Robinson. He's given us a brief on it. We've seen it here. It makes perfectly good sense to me. Has anybody got any questions for myself or for any? You'd come to me, that would.
Right. Can I just say, I'm totally in favour of this, which perhaps I shouldn't say now.
No,
but how long will it take them to do this work? It sounds like an enormous task. So will the place be out of use for some considerable time or not?
I don't know. So I would imagine it would be out of use for the time they're doing the work. I will ask, would you know, sir, how long your work will take? It won't impact our decision.
We obviously go during the summer, that's usually just over 5 months. Hopefully, if we get your permission to extend the lease, we would undertake the work at the end of the season, so it would begin in September and be complete by March.
Oh, right, okay. So they do it in what I call the downtime. So, Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the Bowls Club, but obviously we come to what I see could be a problem with extending the lease on knowing that in the past it's not been let at what the Secretary of State requires us to do at commercial value. So I would like to agree in principle that we can extend the lease, but to ensure that we get proper legal advice on how we can extend it and whether we can continue to be taking what is really a peppercorn rent.
Yeah.
Because we
It was set at 600.
we know it's only a few £100 a year, and that's not commercial value for the property. But I don't want to put a future council in the same problem that we've had. Because every time we bring it up at a budget, they say, "Oh, we can't do anything because it's in the lease from 2007."
Right.
So that's all I just want
To raise that point. That's right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Did anybody else have any comments? Because Councillor Skipworth wanted to come back, and I'll rather see if anybody else had anything else to say first. Councillor Skipworth.
I know that we shouldn't mention certain documents, but we in Oakham have an ageing population, which I think is generally known, but we've also got younger people, and I feel quite strongly that this is actually a community thing as well. So when you start mentioning putting these things up, you're not thinking about the people who live in our town that we're representing. But I think, not that I'm a member, not that I've been, but from what I've heard, what I've read in the paper, it's a real service to the community, and I just think that this should be taken into account when and if we're looking at putting the rent up.
Okay. Right, brilliant. Okay, thank you for that. I'll just clarify. I'm not allowed to discuss the figures of the rent because it's not strictly what we're speaking about here. We're talking about extending the lease. I've not got a problem with the clerk reviewing what it is and double checking that we're actually charging the correct rent as per what Councillor Brooks alludes to there. But the rent is set annually, and we do go by the national guidelines, which is the RPIs. But so not a problem with incorporating what Councillor Brooks has said. But so what we're looking for from anybody that wants to make a proposal that we agree to extend the lease. So who's proposing that? Councillor Brooks?
If it's how you said it.
Yes, yeah, we agree to extend the lease to, I would say 20 years would be better, and that the clerk the clerk just double checks that everything is in order on the lease. Yeah, so that's proposed by Councillor Brooks, seconded by Councillor Wadsworth. All those in favour? That's unanimous then. So there you go. That's okay then. But the council will do that.
Am I allowed to say thank you?
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, thank you for taking the time and coming out. And right, you hang on to that. Don't leave that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So 20 years from April the 1st then.
Yep. Should we also, Councillor Romney suggested that maybe we should bring item 12 forward as well now, which is the Red Box project, to make a decision there. It seems that the member of the public has taken the time to come in, so they don't have to, if they choose not to, they don't have to spend the whole night then. So proposed by Councillor Romney, the Red Box project is brought forward, seconded by Councillor Brooks. All those in favour? That's unanimous as well. Yeah. So item 12 then, Red Box project, to receive a report and to make any decisions. I'll open this up. I don't know if you wanted to throw any light on this as well, Councillor Neil, because you brought the report.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, you've all had the brief, so already through it, and obviously Gemma's here to update you, so I don't know that there's much more I can add, except to say that it is a project that has been identified nationally and that is growing nationally, so it's really making a difference, not only up and down the country, but obviously through the county and Oakham specifically. And Gemma working solely on this as a volunteer to have the support of an organisation such as Oakham Town Council has been very beneficial.
Okay, that's cool. Councillor Skidler?
I'm 100% thinking this is a brilliant idea. The only thing that I do want to say is that for many, many, many years it has been the duty of schools, junior and senior schools, to teach about menstruation. So if the parents or the mother or whoever they're living with doesn't tell them, the school should be giving them plenty of education beforehand. And that's the only thing that I do find I don't like, because it goes on. And so unless the parents withdraw them, which I don't think they're allowed to, then that's not altogether right. That's
If they are up to a certain age, they are allowed to withdraw them.
Right.
But it wasn't allowed, so obviously changed it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brooks?
Yeah. I don't want to be sounding an ogre, but I don't think you should be voting on this on the basis that it's only been put in the budget for the next council. So in the meantime, I went out and I discussed this with the Rutland Lions, who can give donations for small projects like this. And this, before the meeting this evening, I spoke to Joe Suzzoli quickly. The Rutland Lions have agreed to fund this project. The other thing is as well, as a council, we can't commit any future council to an annual donation. If it was to be agreed by council this evening that they would spend next year's budget, then that would be just for that year. You can't say that it can be an ongoing thing. So I'm putting that to council that is a genuine offer from the Rutland Lions that they will pay what is asked here tonight, and it solves a lot of problems, I think.
I wasn't aware we had any problems. Councillor Clough?
Well, I see problems with this.
I'm very much in support of this project. I think it's a good project and needed, especially these economic times. I am happy that our name should be associated as being a supporter of this project, and I agree with the decisions 1 and 2 certainly, but 3 I agree with Martin that we cannot actually commit to resolving to support it annually.
You do it for 1 year.
We could do it for 1 year, and we can say we invite you cordially to apply annually for a grant, if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
But I don't think our grants policy would allow us to say we will do it in perpetuity.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say we're saying every year.
May I just say, whilst we're on that subject, we have recently started a legal campaign towards the government, because at present Scotland and their government are providing period products for free to all educational environments. So we joined forces with an organisation with free periods.
Yeah.
So actually we're hoping that eventually the Red Box project won't actually be needed.
Right. Okay, right. Has anybody, other councillors got any comments want to make? Right, so Councillor Clough, did you want to make that as a proposal?
Sorry, that's what I was just about to
all right. Well, so there was a potential proposal there from Councillor Clough that we go with 1, 2 and 3, but with that it's done as a one-off and it's not in perpetuity.
Yes, but they're invited to apply.
And they can reapply each year, because we will have a grants policy in place by then. I'd thank Councillor Brooks for bringing the comment from the Lions, where we extend courtesy to Lions.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they're not in here in person to do that. And I agree that this is something which I think the local council can be associated with. So, proposal from Councillor Clough that 1, 2 and 3 with the amendment that it's not annual. Yes. Secondly by Councillor Skipworth. Well, I can see you had a chance, you missed it, didn't you? All those in favour, show hands please. That's 9. All those against? 1. Okay, so there you go. So that's been green lighted. So how would that work?
I'll need an invoice or something.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. If you
I
want,
need
you can
to make a
remain.
writing
Yeah.
for us to.
So you can remain for the rest of the meeting if you want, or if you want, you can now
Well, I do have 3 children at home. So, if you liaise through zoning, okay.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Where's the money from?
And it will be after, you won't get
It's
the
in the
money
budget.
until after April.
That's fine. That's not
Yeah, because I just said it won't be until after April.
Sorry?
Try to get the money till next year.
But then we shouldn't be making decisions that the next council might not have agreed on.
Why is that, Councillor Brooks?
Yeah, I've spoken to them before.
We shouldn't.
Why is that, Councillor Brooks?
We just shouldn't.
What is the legal reason we can't make a decision, Councillor Brooks?
Well, you give me the legal reason we can't.
Well, I think you're referring to PERDA, Councillor Brooks, and we're not in PERDA. And even if we were in PERDA, this is not a significant decision.
But we
So
haven't
we'll
made-
move on.
But we haven't made
So-
it clear in the minutes that
so-
it's coming out of next year's budget.
So, right, so moving on then, we're now going on to, is it,
Thank you.
thank you. Is it item 8?
Yes, working groups.
So item 8 is to receive reports of working groups or representatives working with external bodies. So the first one here is St George Barracks, and I believe Councillor Bottomley's got an initial verbal report which is then going to be backed up with an email
Yeah.
document.
I'll send it out tomorrow.
Excuse me for reading my phone, but the email system's gone down, so we couldn't print it. Okay, what is it? Okay, right then. Obviously, we all know the project going on, and we've all currently got a stance on it. Right, so what I'll try to narrow it down to now is what we know, what we think we know, and what we conjecture areas are. So to start off with, and nobody get worried by this, okay, approximately 55,000 homes has been built, spread between all of the MOD sites that are currently being sold off. 55,000 throughout the country.
Not just
You will be getting this emailed through to you, so you don't worry about making notes. Keep going, please.
Yeah.
You've only got 5 minutes.
Okay. Right, of those 55,000 houses, 39,800 have been accounted for according to the Better Defence Estate Report. Okay, that leaves 15,200 remaining. Okay. Many of the villages in the immediate vicinity of St George's Barracks are opposed to the development. Currently, 2,215 houses, with the exclusion so far of the opposite mess. Many residents of Rutland, mainly from the surrounding villages, are opposed to the HIF bid. The MOD have stated that the development will go ahead regardless of the success of the HIF bid. Once the total amount of houses has been announced, approximately a third of the total must be affordable housing. Although we don't know at the moment what is classed as affordable. The MOD is obligated to develop the site in line with National Housing and Treasury targets. The success of the HIF bid will grant RCC £30 million to improve infrastructure due to the development. Okay, that's what we know at this moment in time as fact. Move down to conjecture. Okay, many residents of the villages local to the proposed development vehemently believe the scale of development is too large and would destroy what makes Rutland unique. The MOD state that to make the development viable, they need to build a minimum of 2,215 houses on the site. I class this currently as speculation, as there has been no effort by the MOD to provide a breakdown of the costs incurred for making the site ready for development, but that's ground pollution, removal of explosives or demolition, etc. If the HIF bid is successful, potentially 50% of the available funding is to be spent on making good the site before redevelopment can proceed, and goes against the responsibility of the owner to incur those costs. Nothing legally that we're aware of, but it's still one of those things which we're worried about. If the project gets the go-ahead, there can be no other building work across the county due to the full allotment being incorporated into the St George's Barracks development. That's what people are trying to push across at the moment, from obviously the against, but from what I can gather, that isn't true.
Isn't.
It's not.
Given the potential figure of 15 million, half of the HIF grant, going on the clean-up of St George's Barracks, the remaining 15 million is not enough to provide the level of infrastructure required for a development of this size, including that would be enlargement and reinforcement of the roads around Witchley Warren, improved transport links to the A1, and an alleged 30 kVA line in Trent from Empingham to St George's Barracks to provide power. A development of 350 to 500 houses can be absorbed by the existing infrastructure, schools, doctors, shops, etc. I've lost myself now. Yeah. Okay. Approval as a HIF bid means RCC automatically approve the currently proposed figures. That's also incorrect. they can walk away at any time, providing if they don't like the stipulations that come with the actual HIF bid itself, they can still turn it down.
Right. Lovely.
The mineral study has not yet been undertaken for the future quarry element of the development, so a cost extraction analysis is currently unavailable. So there's been nothing put forward by DIO or the MOD to tell us what sort of gain they're going to get from the quarry side of it. There are many factors that cannot be expanded upon at this juncture, given the infancy of the project. And this council will be made aware of any pertinent or significant developments as and when they arise. There's more to this report, but given the time frame, obviously in the technical issues, you'll be given a copy.
It'll be emailed out hopefully tomorrow once the carrier pigeon's up and.
So, if anyone wants, if I've got time or if you want me to carry on, I can do. Or?
I think there's only so much you can absorb. I think, but does anybody want to hear any more? Yeah. How much more have you got? How much more brief of your brief have you got?
20 minutes worth. I think another 2 minutes will probably do it. It's up to you guys.
Crack on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk faster.
Right then. Okay then. We'll go on to St George's Barracks visit. Right. This visit was requested by members of the advisory group, providing a sense of scale to the endeavour, which may have been lacking from the concept as a whole. What seems to be tentatively agreed by both the for and against camps is that the roads which would usually traverse the site would need to be reinforced in some areas, though neither side could agree which at this stage. I raised the point that the quarry should go ahead, should the quarry go ahead, none of the HIF should be used to build reinforcer routes for the heavier vehicles. I was informed that should the mineral extraction prove a viable option, then the host company in question would foot the bill for that. Those in favour of the proposed scale of development believe this will be a golden opportunity for Rutland for the next 20 years and would bring much needed footfall to businesses within their local economy. In conjunction with this is the establishment of a business enterprise park to sustain the significant population increase. The initial area of 12 acres is now deemed insufficient for the proposed one job per household aspect, which is a key component of the vision and is under further examination. Those against the proposed scale of development believe that this would destroy what makes Rutland Rutland, although no one seems to be able to quantify this claim or tell me what it means. The point has been raised that with this development, our housing requirements, forget that, you've already had that one. Right, okay, then, last bit, Wallfox. On your handouts with the hours email, there is a link attached for you to examine that. Okay, but Wallfox is an RAF camp that lies just south of Greetham, as most of us are aware, with easier access to the A1. Despite faith invested in this location by residents around St George's Barracks, little is known on the viability of Wallfox as an alternative location for this development.
Disused RAF.
It's been handed back. So it's not an issue.
What's it? An Air Force one or a...
It was Royal Air Force
Missiles were there.
and other small animals.
They wanted it for a wind farm, but people didn't want it.
Even if this location is able to support the scope of the plan, the military do not own that land anymore as it was handed back to the original owners. Wallfox is a new contender so far as we know, yet given its infancy compared to the 2 years already invested to get St George's Barracks master plan to its current level, I envisage at least another 6 to 12 months before a viability study is undertaken or completed. That was really nice.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, obviously that will be emailed round. There's a lot to read for those that want to get even more
Are we
detail.
allowed to?
There's even pictures here.
Pardon?
Are we allowed to make comments?
Well, no, not
Or
really.
question?
Please do.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Actors.
Chairman.
Mr Mayor,
Chairman.
I went, Mr Chairman, I can't read Mr Mayor, Mr Chairman,
Chairman.
right. I went to the meeting at Rutland County Council about St George's Barracks, as many people did.
Yeah.
And the lady, and whose name fails me, perhaps that's on purpose, I don't know, but the lady that was in charge of all this said that it was guaranteed that they had got people that wanted to open places for people to work, and they could guarantee all these jobs, absolutely guarantee them, although that was questioned by many of the people that were there. So there's no worry about the jobs, because they're going to be there. We've been promised by the person who works for Rutland County Council. Just want to point that out, thank you very much.
I'm comforted. Is that is that a councillor that you?
No, not a councillor.
Anyway, since to skip. No, not really. I think everybody should. I think you should read the report,
Well,
and because there might be something in there that Councillor Watley is not going to. Right, so we've got PP working group. This is the report in front of us, isn't it?
It's a what?
Is this one here? Yeah.
It's just basically somebody had asked me to give you a breakdown of what we'd asked for in the budget, so I'll put that forward for you. And the other things are what we discussed in the meeting. We do still have some money in the budget, and that is why at the bottom I have asked if we can propose that Alison reorders leaflets and cups, the cups that you've got there, out of this year's budget that we have left.
Right, so-
If everybody's
Oh,
happy with that, that's
Oh, you've got the plastic work.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Yeah, thank you. Sally, we've already spoken about this, but I just want to get it on record that I do agree with you working with Carolyn, but we do need to make sure that it's on a correct footing with a lease or a contract agreement. Just so we know. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Councillor Brooks.
I had a question on the road closure cost. It seems to have gone up considerably high again, and I wondered if this could be discussed with Rutland County Council of why it actually costs £1,000 now, and considering the event that goes on Boxing Day doesn't actually pay anything.
We have spoken to Rutland County Council, myself and
But it was 700 and something pounds this year.
Which day are you
And
talking
they're
about?
saying
we've got no issue with going back and asking them if it might have gone up because it's a similar year. Anyway, Councillor Botman, you wanted to ask a question? Oh, you covered it, everyone. Okay. So we don't need to vote on this. This is just advising us on what's already been agreed, really, isn't it? And I believe the leaflets and the cups have been ordered.
They're done, yeah.
Can I just, are those of these?
They're the old ones, but we have got new ones.
Can I say a group on what they do for us?
Yes, no, I think in actual, I think that Councillor Wadsworth and the team are doing brilliant. They did fantastic last year.
Absolutely.
Who's on that group again?
Anne, Paul, Daniel,
Sally, brilliant.
You'll all be gone.
Coming minute, the working group, Councillor Bottomley, Buxton and
The Christmas thing.
the PPWG.
Or the PPWG, sorry.
Excuse me, can I propose that you also say that Cyan is a brilliant person to...
will you stop it?
Yeah.
No.
Can you send
Right, I'm
some?
not doing it next year.
Oh, she's horrible.
Yeah, we're going to have to have 2 doors now.
Right, okay, can you send some flowers and chocolates?
Yeah. Valentine's
Out of your budget. Out of your budget.
I've got a budget now.
Okay, there's no other reports at the moment. The neighbourhood plan people on the back of that meeting, which I don't know if you saw the email that came round.
Yes,
Chris Park was very. The team were pretty upbeat actually. They thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
There's only your point that they're going to arrange a preliminary meeting with the planning department to try and iron out some of the problems before we present it as our article 14 to the examiner. And they're going to sort
Did you mention that here? So did you make that? They were contacted by Rutland County Council and said, can you basically share with us and we'll go through it?
Yeah, and they shared out some of the work to amend.
Yeah, they're putting all those comments that were passed over there. They're trying to onboard them. You have something you want to say? All right, go on then. Shoot.
But reference that. Can I get my booklet back? I've written everything on, because otherwise I won't remember what I've got on there. Point on. For the neighbourhood plan.
Oh, it's Christopher's got it. I'll have to ask Christopher.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just so I can keep everything in mind.
Yeah, because didn't. Yeah. Right. So, moving on to item 9, isn't it? Statement of accounts. Any comments, observations? Councillor Brooks.
Have they been reconciled?
Have they been reconciled by what? The finance working group?
Yeah.
Have they been reconciled?
No, but
Right.
you and David went through the...
Oh, we did, yeah. In actual fact, Councillor Romney and myself, we went through the payments, direct debits, and the invoices, didn't we? So in actual fact, we went through them on. That was on.
Can I just before we come off that subject, can I just come back and remind council? Actually, it doesn't need to be a member of the finance group. Bank reconciliation 2.2 actually only stated it needs to be a member of the council elected annually.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
I did look at that.
Councillor Ian.
Yes.
Sir.
Thank you. Can't see it here, but some months ago we agreed to open an account with the Melton Building Society to give us a better rate of interest, a local service, and reduce the risk. Where are we?
We had a member on for a signatory, but he resigned, and it was resolved that Councillor Skipworth, but
I've been signing for this.
yeah, for the Melton, but
Oh, right.
but then you decided that you didn't want to do it either.
So does that mean we have nobody to...
But it is actually on the board in there. It's going to go on after the 6 months, which we're up to. I was going to bring it back in for March's.
It may be worth leaving till May.
You're still on it, Peter, and so is David. And we need one more, but the forms are all filled out ready. It's just it is on the
This is where you asked me about doing
Yeah,
this, and I said I
Saturn.
would, but I did say, well, maybe it's better to wait till May, because none of us know who's going to be doing May. No point in signing now, and then in 3 months the clerk has to go get another 3 signatures. Yeah? I mean, that's the way I looked at it anyway, because also then you can't even get the money out that you put in there. Ho, ho, ho. Anyway, so to answer Councillor Ryan's question, then it's delayed due to signatories, basically, and our own 6-month rule has prevented us from bringing it back.
I say that would.
Good, and please.
Excuse me, can I just say, I think that's brilliant to wait until the new people, because nobody knows who'll get elected. If lots of people put up, then you don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So, any other comments on the accounts? Otherwise, I want somebody to propose.
Can I just ask for
accept?
clarification if you're willing to sign that you've reconciled?
You can ask that.
As you
I'm
say,
not answering.
you have done it, but it was sort of a bit...
Did you used to sign to say that you have reconciled?
Yeah, we have to sign the book.
Is that right?
Because then I agree
Martin
with
did
it if
sign
it
it,
has
yeah.
been officially reconciled. That's all I need.
We can do that.
We can sign a book, can't we?
Yeah.
Sign a book every 2 weeks, don't we? Do we get paid for that? Right, looking for a proposal to accept the accounts, all these extra jobs, by Councillor Neil, I saw first, seconded by Councillor Brooks. All those in favour, please show of hands now. That's unanimous. Unanimous. Item 9 is 10, disregard. Item 10, authorisation to pay an invoice over £5,000. This is open plan, the invoice number 1819, and this the council already agreed to do what we're going to do. Councillor Clough.
I would like more information on this before I consider signing away the money. I would like to know, is this the final account for this company, what they've done for the money, and what has been said to them about the condition of the report they produced. Because if I was buying a piece of furniture and it was scratched all over and the handles were missing, I wouldn't buy it. And as far as I'm concerned, the condition of the report they produced was not fit for purpose. And to pay a full amount of money to a company that hasn't done the job it was requested to do, I think is irresponsible when it's not our money. And I think we should be asking further questions about, what are we paying for, what services are included in the scheme, which is information we don't have, how much of this scheme was for producing the report, and are we satisfied that we want to pay that amount of money for a report that was substandard?
Do we know if this is the final invoice?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
And
there's 2. There's the one for the additional, which council resolved for the 1.5 days, which I haven't put on here because obviously it's under 5,000, and then this is the one that I believe is final.
I thought there was a request put in by councillors to see the breakdown of the costs.
Which all members had last
So right, okay. So there's been a breakdown of costs handed out.
It doesn't actually tell you what they did for the money. All it is how much they've been paid. In fact, it doesn't even say which ones are open plan. It just simply says consultancy.
I can get the...
Well, the open plan are the consultants.
But we've had other consultants presumably.
Right. I'm going to stop there because this is not a sort of an open. This is what Councillor Brooks has to say.
I think there's a confusion on what information was required. When my partner died, we had a solicitor who did a lot of work, and it was quite expensive. And I went to that solicitor and said, could you provide a breakdown of an invoice so we can just see that everything was okay? And I think in this circumstances, we're being asked to pay out a lot of money. We're told there's an additional day or 2 days, which have been paid under the clerk's rebate.
Well, the council agreed to
which
that.
we don't, that's not a problem, but I would like to know, just see the invoices to see what we're actually paying for, because I do echo what Joy has said, and I think we have a right to say if we're not happy with something that we don't pay it. And I'm also concerned that the neighbourhood plan is now in a position, the working group, that what future costs, because they've gone away with a lot of information from us, and there's going to be some big changes, and I think there's going to be, sadly, more money required. They're not going to do the work for free, so I won't be voting on that because my question wasn't answered, it was slightly misunderstood, and we were just shown a breakdown of expenditure, which most of us have been given over the time, although we were told that all expenditure was approved. I was slightly shocked to see £700 odd for travelling expenses and things. I don't ever remember that coming to council. And that just seemed to happen at the last moment. It was never claimed over the other years. And but anyway, we're not discussing that, but I've just brought that up for the concerns that we're not really clear what we're paying for.
I'm going to bring in Councillor Buxton first, or next.
Yeah, basically, I mean, Joy has aimed her fire at open plan. I must say, I haven't been with the group long, but viewing it, there's so much discussion. Quite a lot of the text was contributed by the people, not by open plan, on their own. So, but poor man must be very confused at times, I think, as to what we decided. So I agree, it's a lot of money. I will agree with that.
Okay. Councillor Clough has already spoken once. Before I invite you back, Councillor Clough, I want to hear all the other members first, if that's all right. So.
I was very shocked. Actually, I've got to agree with Councillor Brooks today, because I was shocked. It wasn't just the one payment for these travelling things, it was several, and it made me think they've all gone in different cars, they've all done all this, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Where have they been going to bring up all of this money for travelling? I was shocked, and if that's happening for one aspect, is it happening for others as well? Thank you.
Councillor Clough, you wanted to come back on a point, I think.
It was about the quality of the work. A report produced by a professional company should at least have arrived proofread.
You have mentioned this once already in your earlier comments.
But also in reading the comments, taking on Councillor Buxton's comments, that some of the text was provided by the
report.
The members of the steering group.
Right, okay.
It was quite obvious reading it which elements were produced by Open Plan, because the consultant that was writing our report was Italian, and you could see the use of English, the quality of the use of English, and I find it reprehensible that a company should be producing a report in the English language that actually isn't written in good English. Especially when we paid so much for it.
Councillor Bromley.
I'm assuming that once this 5,000 is made, there's still going to be
9,166 plus.
Yeah, sorry, altogether. Once this is done, obviously the report's going to go back and get fixed anyway.
Well, it's not being fixed. It's being updated. There's this perception that it's broken. Right, now here we go.
I'm still going to say the word fixed. But what I'm going to say is, if they are prepared to do the work which they're under contract to anyway, even if it was a substandard terms to kind of follow, then the money they're going to get paid is going to be there regardless. Okay. So if they're going to if they're going to update and rewrite it, then in case of no harm, no foul, but the work is going to get done, so we should act in good faith.
I just want to so just before I read any of this out, is this in the public domain?
I would have thought so.
Is it acceptable that this invoice is subject to being in the public domain, isn't it?
Because if it gets paid, it will be in the public domain. So I don't see that. I don't see that it's a secret. That it's not. No.
Because of the fact that we're recording this meeting at the moment. Right. One thing the clerk's just said to me that a lot of the stuff that's on here has already been resolved by this council to pay in previous meetings, and nobody before this meeting has asked to see proof of that. Right, okay, let's have a look. Let's see what we've got. Is everybody happy that I read this out?
Do it slowly though, because I like to write it down.
Is everybody right?
Do you want a copy?
Yes, please.
Would it be easier to do a copy for everybody
Yeah,
to read?
let's do everybody.
If you want to take this one and photocopy it, but rather than me read it, I think read it out. Let you people read
That's
it.
what I asked for in my request.
This is the actual invoice that relates to this item here, not the overall, the whole project.
You finish reading mine.
It's professional.
Swear, everything will.
So,
Another quick point.
of course you can, yes.
That, the Open Plan Company and our steering group members did lean quite heavily on plans for other councils, other towns.
Oh, they looked at land.
So they sort of transposed it slightly. They probably thought they were doing a good job. That had already been approved by
They didn't plagiarise it, just.
So yeah.
Extrapolated from appropriate associated sources, I think.
Appropriate.
Yes.
To be honest,
it's exciting, isn't it? So obviously bearing in mind that, don't forget regardless of I know comments have been made about what the perception of the standard of the work is, or the facts of what the standard of the work is, but the fact remains that the work has been undertaken, the hours have been completed, and the council has resolved to do this, so you need to be mindful of that, because there has to be a very strong reason for refusal to pay an invoice, and there's subsequent consequences of that. Just make you aware of that. Have you ever? How many people here have actually participated in a neighbourhood plan before?
Is that what we did?
Just curious about that. Because
was that the one that we were on?
Yeah.
one of the things that Chris Clark did was that he actually brought a neighbourhood plan, which he had from he had Langham's neighbourhood plan, and he was comparing the one that, and this was before our comments were put in, he was comparing Langham's neighbourhood plan with the one that the open plan drew up. So he was looking at how they're worded. So
was it the same people who did it?
No, I don't believe it was actually. I'm not sure who did it.
The headings are correct, but it's the content.
It's probably their main thing.
They may have done their own, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
They're pretty good in Langham.
Yeah, they are very good in Langham, aren't they?
They didn't need a consultant to write that.
They do more in Langham as well. They manage their cemetery. Yeah. Don't they? And they're public toilets. It's still the same thing. It is disappointing, but the thing is, it's still, I don't know, it is what it is.
There's 1.5 days that isn't on here, but that was already agreed at last council about 2 months ago, but I haven't brought that invoice in, but that's 1.5 days.
Does quantity apply to days?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said, John.
Does quantity mean days? What's quantity in this context?
Probably ours.
Probably, yeah.
No, it's days. Yeah, it's 1.5 days. It's days.
Is this the person? Is this the open people? Open plan consultants, this is it?
Yeah.
Right, design, actual assessment. Oh. So 3 days is the same price as 6 days. Oh. No, it's not. No, it's not. Unit price. Oh, I'm very confused.
Well, if on the first line, they did 6 items on the first one.
Is that a half day?
At £450 plus VAT.
Half
So
day.
that'd be
That's
done.
£900 a day. £900 a day is that?
No, it's £450 a day.
£450 times 6.
That's 6 days. The first line
I
is
thought you
6.
said there were half days.
No, they're not days.
Sorry, the other invoice is 1.5 days.
Right, forget the other invoice. Look, concentrate on this. Line 1 says quantity 6. That's 6 days at £450 per day.
We are, Adam, we're paying, we seem to be paying for some things which they haven't done. I can see
What's that?
Like the final submission and things. So we are paying for some future work here. If you look at make necessary amendments to the plan following regulation 14 consultation.
Which is what they're doing at the moment.
Yes,
which is 2 days.
So they will be. So that's work not done, but that's not a problem. But one of the concerns I have on here is that we paid for maps, and it was made very clear in the meeting that there weren't any maps, or there were maps, not enough maps, but they weren't readable.
No, absolutely not.
So there are grounds to question this invoice. I think you know, it's.
Well, there were maps.
But they weren't
Right.
enough.
In the report that you received, if you were to put on the scale of map that you wanted to be able to read, you'd need a piece of paper the size of this table probably. I believe that when they did the consultations and they had all their boards up and all the rest of it, they've used the maps. A lot of them have come through from Rutland County Council because they were actually using their copyright to be able to do that. So to do the map on a report that is at such a pixel level that you can read that you've got the village of T in there, for instance, is slightly unachievable. So I'm not entirely sure what the anxiety is over that. But the thing is that you wanted to see a breakdown of the invoice, and there's the breakdown of the invoice.
Yeah,
it's basically 6, 9, 11, 15, 17, 18, it looks like 19 days at £450. You've got the breakdown of what they've done on those days, albeit quite high level preparation of consultation statement. I don't personally know what that means, but obviously it doesn't mean.
Query about the travelling expenses. If the steering group were travelling to them, why are we paying open plan?
Who said the steering group were travelling to them?
Because we paid that before.
Thank you, Councillor Skipper. This is not WI. At the end of the day, they've done what it looks like they've done 1,540 miles at 40p a mile, which comes out at £616. Now, where are these people based? Lincoln.
Christopher and Paul went from an additional meeting.
That's been paid, hasn't it?
That was paid out petty cash. They had, as far as I'm aware,
that's not in this.
Christopher and Paul went to them in Lincoln, which we've paid out petty cash, which council approved.
So this is where these guys have come down and done journeys from Lincoln or wherever they've come from to visit Rutland, and they've been having their meetings at the King Centre, and they've been having regular meetings. So that's that appears to be. I'm not sure what 11 incurred plus 3 committed times 110 mile round trip. So 110 mile round trip to Lincoln.
Is it?
Yeah.
How far do you think it is, Councillor Skipworth?
Well, I'm thinking of Wisbeach, you see, so I'm not
No,
thinking of
what stage?
it's Lincoln.
That's right.
Can I just ask, is on the travelling that Alison distributed overall costs, is that 700 and something pounds including this amount?
Sorry, you've lost me.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Really, in the document that you said kindly sent to everybody, you said there was 700 and something pounds travelling expenses. I don't have it.
Well, it's probably here
yeah.
because this is 616 plus
does it
VAT.
include this? Because then that doesn't look so bad. Because I think some people are under the impression that
Oh,
councillors might have spent £700 travelling.
No, it is in the original.
Oh, right.
It is.
So
I've checked
that's
it. Yeah.
No.
The only thing we've only paid, council has only paid the neighbourhood plan the members in the town one trip.
Okay.
Councillor Clough wanted to make a comment as well. Bear in mind that you've now had about 4 goes at this, and there is a limit where I'm going to say enough is enough, all right? But I'm going to come back round one more time. No more from the right. Councillor Clough.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we write to the steering group, not just the chairman, but the steering group as a whole, and ask them if they are satisfied that Open Plan fulfilled their requirements as a professional body, and that should we pay this, and accordingly are they recommending that we pay this full bill?
I haven't got a problem with that if that's going to be a proposal in a minute, as long as you add in there that if they come back and say yes, the council approves this pay. Councillor
I was
Butterley.
just going to say, did we actually need the open plan coming in so early? Could we not have produced a plan with our own resources and then presented it to a professional company?
No. Well, the thing is, the horse is halfway down the paddock.
Well, it is now, but if such a project comes up in the future, I think we should learn from our...
But don't trust me, I'm not going to do another neighbourhood plan one.
Well, something else like that, you know.
Given that we seem to be basing most of our sort of conjecture on the report itself, could we not propose that we withhold payment until that document is updated, and we're happy with it? Because obviously, from what we all know,
they would never pay. We come to you lot around the table.
for a given value.
Well, actually, I was actually leaning more towards Councillor Clough's idea that the work has been done. The thing is, the council commissioned these people to do the job. The council have also agreed previously to these budgets, and to a certain extent, we now have an invoice, and we have to have some very, very good reasons not to pay. Now, Councillor Clough actually raised something which I probably don't disagree with, that that we will approve to pay it, subject to the steering group as a whole, because that's right, it's not just Chris Clark saying yes. It has to be the whole steering group, because some of them may have similar reservations. So, did anyone else want to add anything in there before? Oh, Councillor Wright.
Yes, I haven't spoken.
Oh, no, you can go.
I think you're right. I mean, the stable door's been open some time. We should have queried this before, really. But it does strike me some of this is work to be done.
It's that 2 days bit, isn't it, on doing the regulation 14?
Well, preparation of maps. I raised this at the meeting. I mean, I don't think they've prepared any maps. They've just copied the legend on the back of the maps.
About the maps so that they can check the steering group.
Was the Rutland County Council map.
Yeah, they are using Rutland County Council maps.
But there were no keys on them.
There was a key on the back. It was not relevant to Oakham.
Did they prepare them up?
Preparation of consultation statements, 3 further committed load of travel expenses, going back to the maps, so and so. Make necessary amendments to plan following regulation 14. So what I'm saying is, do we want to be paying for work that's not yet done?
Right, I'm not going to invite you to speak again, because I've heard everybody about 4 or 5 times now. And Councillor Clough made a proposal that the council approach the steering group as a whole to get their opinion, and subject to what they come back with, the council will then pay the invoice. When it's completed.
For an addition.
Not in this financial year, because there's no money in next year's budget.
But if you know that you've got money, that you can journal it over.
Okay.
What's the amendment, Councillor Skipworth?
I would agree exactly what Councillor
Clough
said, but I'd like to put a little bit of amendment on it, that we think back to when we voted on the path through Cuts Close, whatever it was, and we decided that we should pay something, but not all of it, until everything was completely done and we'd sorted it all out. So I would suggest that we do that, and we wait till it's absolutely done, but we could pay them a small, whatever it's called, payment now. Interim payment now.
Councillor Clough, what percentage would you base that on?
Well, their bill to date has been 21,000, so they've already had. It's not as if they've not been paid anything.
Yeah.
Their bill isn't all 21.
Does anybody
stuff as well?
Does anybody want to second that amendment?
I would like to just.
Well, I'm going to deal with one item at a time, so I'm going to ask that question. Does anybody want to second that amendment? Right. So let's vote on that amendment. Who's in favour? Right, so Councillor Romney has seconded the amendment. All those in favour of that amendment, show of hands please. 3. Pay attention please. All those against that amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 6. And 1 abstention. So that falls. So, yeah, have you got an amendment?
No, I'd go with Joyce, but it's the wording. We're waiting for a response, but we don't want to agree to pay it tonight, because that means basically they can say they don't like it, but then the clerk can go ahead and pay it. It's got to be waiting for a response to make a decision in the future.
I'm going to ask Joy to just say her actual proposal in the council
I
right.
propose that the town council write to the steering group and ask all the members to confirm whether they think, what did I say, whether they agree that the professional company met their financial obligations
And expectations, I guess.
and expectations in the production of the documents. And we would base the payment of the bill upon their response, providing the work has been finished.
Okay. Or should it be?
Which is Peter's point.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
No, we should make sure that the work has been finished.
So basically, write to the steering group, asking if they think it's been done to the standard, and that we pay the invoice on completion of the work that's detailed on this invoice. So that was proposed by Councillor Clough, seconded by Councillor Wadsworth. All those in favour, show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in favour. All those against that? Sorry, you didn't vote for it then?
No, I vote against it because I'm a
Right.
bit wary
1,
of
2,
the word.
3. 3 are against it, so that's abstentions. All abstentions. 1, 2. That's so it's carried.
So we put it in their court.
Yep.
If,
All right.
if they say it's
5, 3 and
good
2.
enough, we pay.
Right. That's done. That's closed now. You can stop thinking about that one.
But it's not happening.
Right. Item 11. Councillor Romney.
Yep, the previous meeting we were asked about money for grants for 2 organisations, and it was pointed out by Councillor Lucas that this authority does not have a policy for grants. So the policy committee met, and we invited Councillor Clough to join us on that particular occasion, and we went through policies. We looked at different authorities, and they all seem to use a generic base and then amend it to their own needs, which is what we have done. We've looked at it, and this is the policy that we would like to move to council, that we should be basing any grant applications and payments on. So,
Brilliant. So brilliant. Well done to whoever this group for drawing this up. Any comments or observations on the policy only at the moment? Councillor Brooks.
I think it's quite much better than we had before, but we have an issue with what we've agreed this evening straight away, because the young lady sat there and said it's just her doing the project, and the first condition 2A says you can't grant to individuals.
Well, we haven't accepted this grant policy yet. So
No, but that's what I'm saying is that you've got to look at this and...
In that situation, though, she's the only person doing the project in Oakham. The project is a national
the money was given by
But this is why we need to go through this carefully, because what we've done tonight, even though we don't have the policy, has contradicted the policy already.
No, we haven't adopted it. Have we contradicted it? Have we got?
No, but it is actually based on law, isn't it?
Well, you say that. You tell me which point law is, and I'll just skip. Right. So what it is then?
Don't understand one of the things. Can I ask her what it means?
Well, you can do. You have to put your hand up and ask. We might have to wait for Councillor Brooks to sit down.
Sorry, I thought it finished.
Councillor Brooks is finished now, haven't you, Councillor Brooks? Or not?
Not quite.
Oh, go on.
I'm quite pleased to see it, and I would hope that people will follow up the requirements and things that are asked in here, because so much. That was one of the reasons the grants policy was binned a few years ago, because we just gave money and there was no follow-up. So if we do adopt this policy, I hope we stick to it.
Councillor Skipper.
Just one. Oh, sorry.
Yes, you now.
Okay. Just one that I don't understand. If it could be explained to me. It's probably very simple, but I don't understand it. Private organisations operating as a non-profit business. Don't understand.
If we can, when you do want to have a private meeting, we can book you in another room. Councillor Romney.
I don't know if Peter wanted to...
Yes, let's see what Councillor Ryan has to say, because he might add something to this.
Well, it comes under the Local Government Act, so we should have one really, because otherwise there's a danger we give money to a source that we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I totally support this. I'm used to this background, and we must stick by it. Whenever we get a request in the future, we'll look at this template. Also, there is a risk that groups don't give us the full background. You know, we need, you know, the financial aspect of this. It's so easy for them to come along or just send a note out. So it'll need a proper request and the financial background. So I totally support it.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? No, Councillor Skip's already spoken.
Okay, no, do you want me to answer it?
Just that.
Oh yeah, yes, on this.
Just on the non-profit, the
private organisation.
Yeah, private organisation. So that could be something like private organisation, and an organisation which is I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head.
Care.
Yeah, Care. Yeah, because they're a non-profit organisation, but they are a business.
So it's a business. It's a business that operates solely as a sole trader. But what they do is they do something where they make no profit, or they do it for the community. It's like a community volunteer project.
Isn't that good?
Well, it is good.
That's what we're saying. That's in that we would fund it. And the other thing, to pick up on Peter's point, we did say that there is item 4 is application procedure. So there is, we have said that we do want a strict procedure into the way that the applications come forward, so we can look at what they're being asked for the correct way, so we know what we're giving the money for, where it's going, and we're also asking for feedback. The organisation will receive a notice. Can
I ask you a question?
Yes.
If I was looking on this item here, and 11, 2 and 3 are actually consider a request for a grant. Mm-hmm. Do these meet the requirements of this policy at this moment?
One does, 2 does. One does.
Right, that's fine. Okay, right, thank you. Fine.
The successful grant application, item 7, the organisations are required to advise their users and members that the grant has been received, and acknowledgement of the town council support should be made in any publicity. So we're making sure that we're getting the proper kudos, and we have the ability to actually claw back any unfunded, any money that is not used. So if we're given a grant for 50 quid and they only spend 25, we can have a 25.
Right, so now Councillor Brooks, you've spoken on this once already, so I'm not going to come back to you. Right, okay, before you do, I haven't spoken yet. So to clarify then, the Red Box project, for instance, that we spoke about earlier on, if they wanted more money again next year, they would come under the grant procedure. To clarify a point that was made by Councillor Brooks earlier on, the fact they are not sole trader anyway, they are a national organisation, it's a national charity thing. So your proposal is then, Councillor Brooks?
That we accept this, but you raised the issue tonight about the 2 grant application requests. I don't actually have them, and I don't think we should be considering those tonight.
Okay. Well, let's take it one at a time. You're going through 11I, aren't you?
The citizens' advice one doesn't fall within.
Yeah, but we're doing 11.1, Chairman.
Yes, we are doing 11.1.
Okay.
So let's focus on 11.1, otherwise we won't get. Well, he hasn't finished.
Just so I don't have to stand again. The citizens' advice doesn't fall within this; it falls within another.
We're not discussing that. We're discussing 11.1.
Okay. Well, then I propose that we accept this.
The policy.
The policy.
Councillor Clough.
I would like to add an amendment to that.
Amendment? Yeah, shoot.
I would like to propose that we accept the policy, but that we go back into it and I gather we've done this for a grant policy for this year to deal with the grant applications we've had. We'd like to make this into a permanent grants policy, and we'd like to propose that the working group would rewrite the application form and the information that we give to bodies applying for grants, so that it's all in keeping and up to date.
I thought it was a permanent.
Yeah, I think what Councillor Clough, sorry, Joe, I think what Councillor Clough was alluding to, I think because when we looked at this, we were only asked to look at the policy, not to look at this, and we weren't looking at a full scheme of grants. I think what Councillor Clough is proposing is that the council has a proper grants policy open to all organisations, which obviously wouldn't come in until next year because of the grant money.
Are you happy to have that as an amendment to your proposal that we accept the grants policy, but it is, as Councillor Clough said, that it's made a permanent grants policy and that it's reviewed
more open.
I think this one is a permanent policy, but I would accept the amendment to review the working group to review the application process,
which we should be doing every year anyway. Okay. Well, so we've got that captured, haven't we? So that's fine. Yeah. So we'll accept that then as a. So we take you as the seconder then for that as a.
Yes.
So it was proposed by Councillor Brooks, all of that, including that slight amendment, seconded by Councillor Clough. All those in favour, show of hands, please. That's unanimous. Then, so 11.2. So we have got 2 requests for grants. These have come to the council before and were deferred. So you have had eyeballs on these, so that's why the papers have not been rewritten. Same on the paper there, you see. Should we take each one in? Yeah, so we'll look at 11.2, which is to consider a request from Citizens Advice Rutland for a grant of £2,000.
That can be paid under another power. So that one can be paid.
Yeah, so we have a power
Yeah.
cap basically. Any comments or anything?
No, seconded.
No?
Has it been proposed? Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, yes, I'll vote on that one.
Chloe, were you agreeing with the councillor Brooks, or did you want to make a comment?
No, that's fine.
Oh, right, okay, so it's been proposed by councillor Bottomley, seconded by councillor Clough. All those in favour, show of hands.
Use of funds is providing the service.
Are you in for this, or are you out of it?
I'm voting against it because they've never shown in the past
Oh, I
what
thought
they've
you...
done with our money.
Right, okay, so we've got... So no, it's all right, good manner, we can do that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side, 7, 8,
Oh, sorry.
9 in favour, 1 against. Yes, brilliant, okay. Right,
It comes under providing the service.
11.3 is to consider a request from Oakham Town Council partnership for £2,500. Who wants to propose that? Comments, observations?
For what?
It doesn't come within the remit of the grants policy.
Doesn't come within the remit of the grants policy. Councillor Brooks?
I would agree with that because it's asking for running costs.
Right.
And it just doesn't fall within our grant, and it's a company as well, not a charity.
So anybody want to propose? No, we can't. You can't do a negative proposal. So nobody wants to propose that we pay it, do we? No.
So can I propose that we don't pay it?
Well, why don't we do this a little bit more professionally and probably propose that we advise Oakham Town Partnership that we can't accept this request because it doesn't fall within our grants policy.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be a more professional and polite way of doing
And
it.
then if we can highlight the parts of the policy, so they've got.
Certainly.
Well, they can have a copy of the
So, were you happy to accept that as your proposal, that we write and advise them, and that's seconded by Councillor Clough again, yeah? All those in favour of that approach? Unanimous. There you go. How nice. Item 14 is...
Oh, sorry,
Did you just want it?
Yours.
Do you?
Just
Come back to you for closing.
Do you need a slight pause?
If you don't mind.
I'm just going to suspend the meeting for 5 minutes so that people can refresh themselves.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.